That's not right.
No. That was probably you guys see the Churchill movie?
Yeah, it's good, but it's just a couple inaccuracies, that's all. It's good.
But the acting, you couldn't tell me the acting.
No, I know.
Well, good morning, everyone. Just let me start by saying we're keeping all those impacted by the train derailment in Pierce County, Washington, in our hearts today. It's an ongoing emergency, and you think about people just on their daily commutes, and then the tragedy hits, and just remember to keep them in your thoughts. Today in the People's House, we're preparing to send the Tax Cuts and Jobs bill to the President's desk. The Achieving a Better Life Experience, the ABLE Act, also turns 3 today. And on the day that the House passed the ABLE Act, I remember having my son Cole on the House floor and reflecting on when he was first born. And Brian and I were told at that time, don't put any assets in his name. And I remember as new parents, we thought, boy, that's just the wrong message to be sending parents that are ready just to give their child everything that life had to offer. And as parents, we strive to give our kids the tools they need to pursue their dreams no matter the challenges that they face. Transforming our expectations for people with disabilities is what the ABLE Act is all about. It's marked a new chapter for people with disabilities, one of empowerment, opportunity, and independence. And today, it's fitting to reflect on those words again as the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act carries on the legacy of the ABLE Act. It will allow individuals to roll over funds from a 529 savings account to an ABLE account so that they can pay for ongoing expenses. It also allows for able to work so that individuals can save more of their own money as they explore the workforce and find good paying jobs. From the very beginning, our focus has been pro-family, pro-economic growth so that everyone will have the opportunity for a better life and the opportunity to reach their full potential. This legislation nearly doubles the standard deduction to make more of what you earn tax-free. It lowers the rates across the board so that small businesses and job creators invest here at home, not overseas. And it eliminates costly special interest loopholes and instead puts families first. Under this plan, the average family of 4 making $73,000 will see an over $2,000 tax cut. I'd like to thank the conferees from the House and the Senate, everyone that was involved in making this happen. And despite the defenders of the status quo that are using every tired, scared tactic in the book to delay progress and divide the American people, our conferees have worked hard to meet our goal for more jobs, fairer taxes, and bigger paychecks. Americans sent us here to do the big things, and that includes fixing a broken tax code. This really is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to provide a brighter future to all Americans. We're keeping that promise, and we're excited to move forward today. I'm also pleased that Representative Neil Dunn could join us today. He's from Florida's 2nd District. He has legislation on the floor today that's helping veterans get jobs in the STEM fields. He's also been a great advocate for fixing our broken tax code and helping hardworking men and women in his district.
Well, thank you very much, Madam Chair. This truly is an exciting and historic day for our country. For many of us, the vote we cast today is the principal reason we came here to serve, to get our economy going, to put Americans back to work, and put more money in their paychecks. For those across the country who still doubt that this legislation will help the middle class, all you have to do is read it. I direct your attention to Fair and Simple GOP. Or fairandsimple.gop. It really will cut the taxes and help hardworking families make ends meet. I want to thank all of my colleagues who worked so hard on this bill to make this dream a reality. But most especially, I want to thank Chairman Kevin Brady and Speaker Paul Ryan, who bore the largest part of this challenge. This is good medicine for America. Thank you very much.
When the doctor said it's good medicine, you don't need a second opinion on that. This is really an exciting day for hardworking families who have called on Congress for years to simplify the tax code so that they can have more money in their pockets, so that we can get this economy going again, so we can bring jobs back to America that have left, and to finally create a code that's so simple that over 90% of families can actually do their taxes on a postcard. We're delivering that relief to all of those hardworking families today. This is an historic vote for a lot of reasons, but one we proved just how big we can do things if we come together as a team, just how big we can deliver a win for the American people when we come together as a team. If you look at how long it's taken for us to get to a point like that, you have to go all the way back to 1986. When Ronald Reagan was signing the last reform of our tax code back in 1986, he talked about how hard it was and how all the naysayers said it couldn't be done. But Ronald Reagan never gave up. And ultimately, on the day he signed the bill, he read a headline that said, "The impossible became the inevitable." And I want to thank President Trump for having that same must-do, can-do attitude where he never gave up. He kept working with us every step of the way to get to this point where we're going to pass this bill in the House, and the Senate's going to pass this bill too, and then he can sign a bill that's going to provide that relief for hardworking taxpayers who have for so long wanted a tax code that works for them, who for so long have wanted to have more money in their pockets so that they can have a better shot at living the American dream. That starts today with this historic tax cut vote.
Every week we come here, make our statements, and wait for your questions. Today I'd like to start with a question to you. Did you believe we'd ever be at this day with this bill on this floor with the outcome we know that's going to happen?
Let's see a show of hands.
So many times you would listen to us to talk about bringing back the American comeback. The bill today is for everyone who could not find a job, for everyone who did not get a raise, for every single parent, for every small business owner, for everyone who ever dreamed of being that entrepreneur, for every time you wondered why another business left America to go to another country. This is America's comeback. This is the beginning. This is the opportunity. So when you pass this bill today and we pass it in the Senate and it's signed into law, for every American, they need to check their check next year, because the answer will be there. There will be more in their paycheck. They will know that no longer do they send it to Washington, they send it to their home, that they have an opportunity. This is an opportunity that we have fought for a long time. So as I started with that question, maybe you'll write the answer. Maybe you didn't believe we'd ever get here. But next year will be different. America will be different because of what we do today.
First of all, I want to join Kathy in just saying how saddened we are by the terrible loss of life in DuPont, Washington. And our thoughts and prayers are with the victims and the people who are injured. And our thanks go out to the first responders who are attending to this terrible accident in Washington. Kathy also talked about how tax reform is going to help people with disabilities. It kind of gets to the heart of what this is all about. This is about expanding opportunity to people who are striving to make the most of their lives. The reason we're here doing this is because we want people to reach their potential. And we know in this country we're not reaching our potential. And we know one of the greatest things we can do to do that is pass this tax reform bill. With this tax reform, families at every income level get a tax cut, but especially middle-income families. The typical family of four making the typical income of $73,000 will get a tax cut of $2,059. Let me repeat that. The typical family of four making the median family income gets a $2,059 tax cut next year. This is real relief. This is real relief, and people are going to see this in their paychecks before too long. Look, you've all heard us say it, but it is very true. More than half the people in this country are living paycheck to paycheck. Almost another half are people who are telling us that they're about one paycheck away from living paycheck to paycheck. There's real economic anxiety in America. But there's so much potential for our people, for our country, for our economy. Small businesses and Main Street businesses, that's where most of the jobs come from. They get real relief in addition to the families. Workers are going to get a more level playing field. That's going to boost wages. That's going to bring more jobs back home. This is going to make such a positive difference in the lives of everyday working Americans from all walks of life. Whether this is your first term or your 10th term, this is why we are here. And this is what I'm excited about this moment. We, in 2016, laid out and articulated a vision for what we think is necessary to get this country back on its track. We spent all of our time together in our majority. Here's what it's going to take to get America back on its feet. Here's what it's going to take to help people who are struggling. Here's what it's going to take to get this economy out of the malaise it's been for a decade to get true growth, to hit our potential. And we're doing it today. This is the greatest example of a promise being made and a promise being kept. It's been a long, long time. It's an honor to be Speaker of the House to see this. The last time this got done, the job I had, I was working the Quarter Pounder Grill at McDonald's at the intersection of Highway 14 and 990 in Janesville, Wisconsin. It's a long time in coming, and that's why we're so excited to see this happen, because we know this is going to help people, we know this is going to grow our economy, and we know it's going to most of all help the people who are struggling in this country. And that's why we're very, very excited about this historic day. Any questions?
Mr. Speaker, this bill, despite what you've just outlined, remains deeply unpopular. Any concern that this won't translate into a political win for Republicans?
No concerns whatsoever. I got to say, if people are out there on TV telling mistruths, disguising the facts of this thing, that's going to make it unpopular. As I mentioned before, and Steve shows the polling. Sorry, it's funny when that happened. 18% of Americans before the Reagan tax cuts thought they were going to get a tax cut. Look, when you have a sling fest, a mud fest on TV, when pundits are slamming each other about this tax bill before it passes, that's what's going to happen. But when we get this done, when people see their withholding improving, when they see the jobs occurring, when they see bigger paychecks, a fair tax system, a simpler tax code, that's what's going to produce the results. Results are going to make this popular. Alan.
On your evidence-based policy, what do you think of the process of getting that through? What do you say to some of these groups on the right that are talking about, as you know, our data, big database administrative state?
Yeah, big database, the Leviathan. I've read the books. Look, it's a Hobbesian term. This evidence-based policy is very good reform. And by the way, it is done to get ahead of privacy protections. The board that we put together were privacy advocates as well. So what you want to do is get in front of big data to make sure that individual privacy protections are maintained with standards across all of government. But isn't it just rational that we should measure whether or not our policies are working or not? How many times in Washington have you seen an effort-based, an input-based policy approach? What I mean when I say that is, we seem to measure success around here, especially on poverty-fighting programs. How much money are we spending? How many people are going on the programs? Instead of asking the right question, is it working? Are we producing the results we want to produce? Are we actually getting people out of poverty? Well, now we have the technology. Now we have the data to actually allow researchers to see whether or not what we do works around here, to see whether or not we are spending taxpayer dollars efficiently. And given the fact that we have technology, let's get ahead of the privacy protections to make sure that people's privacy protections are protected. And I do believe we think we can get it done. Yeah.
Speaker Ryan, are you going to run?
Oh, look, I am not going anywhere anytime soon, and just let's leave that thing at that. Wong.
To follow up, why did you feel compelled today to tell your rank and file?
Because I actually think that piece was very irresponsible. It was a speculative piece, and it was faulty speculation, and I wanted to put it to rest.
Can you explain why you think vote is so important now? We're at historic lows relative to modern
So,
times for unemployment.
yeah.
And there's some conservatives that are worried that the risk here is on the deficit side.
Yeah, so it's a really good question, actually. So we have these low unemployment rates and statistics, but yet we have slow growth. So how does that factor? Well, look behind that statistic. What those unemployment rates are not taking into account, the fact that there are tens of millions of able-bodied adults in America who are not looking for work, who are not at work, who are not in school to get a skill to go to work. So we are going to focus next year on people, on getting people from welfare to work, on making sure people get the skills they need to get the jobs they want and get the careers that get them the life they need. But more to the point, we have not had a 3% economy since before the last recession, the Great Recession. Tax reform will get us a 3% economy. And never forget the fact that in a 21st century economy, we have to be competitive with other countries. And when we tax ourselves basically with the worst tax code in the industrialized world, we're doing great damage to the American economy, which hurts workers, which hurts upward mobility. Fixing the tax code will help us get that 3% economy. You get that faster economic growth, guess what? It bids up wages. It produces more careers. It pulls people who are on the sidelines, able-bodied people, not even being counted by the unemployment statistics, into the workforce. That's why it helps. One more.
Tim Murphy is home in southwest Pennsylvania. Blake Farenthold is going to stay through the end of next year. John Conyers is home in Detroit. River Keelan is going to stay through the end of next year. Can you assess sort of how these decisions get made and going forward?
It's a completely legitimate question. First of all, each of these members make their own decisions on how to proceed. But that's why we have asked Greg Harper and other members on a bipartisan basis to come up with standards, come up with a system. We need to update and upgrade the Congressional Accountability Act. That is now happening. You're going to see Chairman Harper roll out a slew of reforms to upgrade this law so that we have standards, so that we have the right kind of transparency. And when you get into this, you have to also keep in mind the victims themselves. What is it that what they need to protect their interests and their equities? So that's why we've taken some time to make sure that we get this right. You saw that we passed mandatory training. Those regulations on how to put that mandatory training in place is coming due this week. And then you're also going to see the House Administration Committee put out a whole new slew of reforms so we have basic standards so that we can go forward with a new updated law that actually respects this issue for what it is. Thank you.